There's a dead brown stalk standing in old fields all over this country right now, and you've walked past it and mowed it down and never looked at it. In the old accounts, that stalk was worth more to a traveler than anything he could carry. It's called dogbane, and the fiber inside it twists up into cord strong enough to string a bow. Every beginner camping list starts with a checklist and a shopping trip. But the 10 skills coming up don't cost $1, and the 10th one decides whether the other 9 ever get used. You break the dry stalk in half, peel the woody bark away in strips, and roll what's left between your palms until the wood cracks off and leaves a ribbon of pale fiber. Twist that ribbon away from you hard and let it fold back on itself, the two halves lock together and hold. That's cordage, no knot, no glue, nothing bought. I'm Wes Kingfisher. What I bring you comes from the old accounts, the skills native peoples used on this land for thousands of years, gathered from historical records and traditional knowledge and told the way an elder would tell it, plain, slow, and in the right order. The old ones knew things we've nearly forgotten. So listen close. Number 1, cord and the plant that hands it to you. The old accounts describe dogbane and milkweed worked into cord from the Great Basin to the eastern woodlands, and the Ojibwe stripping the inner bark of the basswood tree for the same job. Down in the desert, southwest, it was yucca leaf. You want them standing dead and brown after frost, along a fence line or a ditch bank. A green stalk will rot on you before it ever gives up its fiber, so you want the dead ones. And here's the part people get wrong. Dogbane is cord, not food. Its sap is toxic, so it never goes near your mouth and never near a cooking pot. Hook a finger in each end and pull hard. Cord that survives your own 2 hands will hold a bow drill, a snare line, a fishing line, a pack strap, and the lashings on a frame you sleep under. That's 5 problems, solved by a weed people pay good money to have sprayed out of a pasture. And that's 1. But there's something out there you'll want sooner than cord, usually by the 2nd afternoon. Number 2, water found and made safe. Native peoples across this land learned to read water off the country itself, and the sign is easier than you'd think. In dry ground, look for a green line of willow and cottonwood where nothing else is green, because those trees keep their feet wet. Look at the base of a slope where the soil goes dark and soft. And when all you've got is a muddy creek edge, the old way is a seep hole, dug a long step back from the water and left alone. The ground filters it, the silt settles out, and you scoop clear water off the top. Now, the part that matters more than any of that, boil it. The old accounts describe water boiled in bark and hide containers with fire-heated stones, and the people doing it knew to use dry stones off high ground, never wet rounded ones out of the creek bed, because a stone with water trapped inside cracks in the fire and throws pieces across camp. Today, you put it over the flame and hold it at a rolling boil for 1 full minute, or 3 minutes if you're up high in the mountains. That's current tested guidance, not folklore. And on water, you follow the tested guidance every time. Now, everything I just showed you with that cord and that seep hole has its own page in the Native American way of the woods. That's 101 skills for moving through country the way the old ones did it. The walking quiet, the reading of a print in the mud, making fire by hand, and eating off the land you're standing on. These were taught out in the timber by voice, one person to one person, and hardly a word of it got written down. It's researched and written down, plain in there now, close enough to the old accounts to do it the first time you read it. One book against a store full of gear that quits on you at the worst hour of the night. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right. Number 3 is the one that decides whether you sleep or shiver, and almost nobody gets it right the first night out. Number 3, get up off the ground. Cold ground pulls the heat out of a body faster than cold air does, and a man can lie there in a good blanket all night and never once get warm because of it. The accounts from the northern woods describe beds built of spruce and fir boughs, laid down thick and shingled with the cut ends pointing into the ground and the soft tips curving up. In hardwood country, it was dry leaves piled deep. You test it this way. Lie down on it. If you can feel the ground through it anywhere, it isn't finished, and you go get more. Twice as much as looks reasonable is about right, because it packs down hard under your weight in the first hour. And you build that bed while you can still see what you're picking up. Which brings us to the fire, and to the mistake almost everybody makes standing right in front of one. Number 4, gather the whole fire before you make any of it. This is where beginners lose the night. Somebody gets a spark into a pinch of grass, watches it flare, reaches around for a stick, and by the time they find one, the fire is out and gone. The old accounts have the sequence the other way around. You gather in 3 grades, and you gather all 3 before you strike anything. Tinder first, the fine stuff that takes a spark, cattail down, cedar bark rubbed between your palms into fluff, birch bark curls, dry grass twisted into a bird's nest, kindling second, dead twigs snapped off standing dead branches, never picked up off wet ground, thin as a pencil lead building up to thumb thick. Fuel wood last, an armful more than you think you need. Then you light it. That order is not a preference, and by the end of this list, you're going to see that the order is the actual teaching. Number 5, fire out of a bow, a string, and a stick. Here's where number 1 comes back. The cord you twisted out of that weed is the string on a bow drill, and the bow drill is the oldest fire kit on this land. It's 4 pieces. A bow, which is nothing but a bent stick as long as your arm, with your cord tied end to end and left slightly loose. A spindle, a straight dry stick about as thick as your thumb and as long as your hand span, blunt at the bottom, pointed at the top. A hearth board, a flat piece of the same dry wood laid on the ground, and a bearing block, a rock, or a knot of hardwood you hold in your left hand to press down on the spindle top. You wrap the cord 1 turn around the spindle so it grips. You set the spindle point into a shallow dish carved in the hearth board. You kneel on the board with your left wrist locked against your shin, and you saw the bow back and forth in long, even strokes. The friction grinds hot black dust into a notch you cut into the side of that dish, a notch shaped like a slice of pie, and that little pile of dust is the whole point of the exercise. It's not the smoke, and it's not the glow. It's the dust. When the pile is smoking on its own after you stop, you have a coal, and you tip it into that bird's nest of tinder from number 4, and blow steady and low until it takes flame. The Inuit ran a bow drill with a mouthpiece gripped in the teeth to press down on the spindle, which freed a whole hand for other work. And here's the detail nearly everybody misses. When the cord slips and spins uselessly around the spindle, the fault is almost never the wood and almost never your arm. It's tension. Too loose and it slides. Too tight and it binds and squeals. You want it tight enough that the spindle rolls hard and no tighter. And that is the entire secret people quit over. Number 6, walk quiet and stay found. The accounts of hunters across this land describe a way of walking that has nothing to do with sneaking. You slow down. You set the outside edge of your foot down first and roll the sole inward, feeling for a stick before you commit your weight to it. And you stop far more often than feels natural. The stopping is the part that does the work. And while you're going slow, you keep 2 things in your head: a handrail, which is a creek or a ridge line or the edge of a field running in the direction you're traveling, so you always have something to feel your way back along. And a backstop, which is a road or a river or a power line running crosswise, well behind or well past you, so that when you do get turned around, and you will, you walk until you hit something you know, instead of walking until dark. Now, walking quiet only pays you back if you know what you're walking up on, and the ground has been keeping notes the whole time. Number 7, read what walked through before you. A track tells you more than which animal made it. It tells you when. Crisp, sharp edges, a little ridge of soil still standing on the rim, no dew and no wind-blown leaf litter in the bottom of it. That's fresh. Soft, rounded edges with debris settled in. That's old. Learn just that one difference and the ground starts talking to you. Game trails run to water. So, a heavy trail headed downhill is an arrow pointed at a drink. And the same sign tells you where not to sleep. Not on the trail itself, because you don't want a startled animal coming through your camp in the dark. Not in the low bottom ground, because cold air sinks and pools down there all night. Not under a leaning dead limb. An old woodsman had a name for those: widowmakers. The order is the same as everything else on this list. You read the ground first, then you choose the spot, then you build the bed, then you build the fire. Number 8, eat off the land you're standing on and be certain. Cattail grew in the shallows of nearly every pond and slow creek on this continent, and peoples all over used it, roots to seed head. The shoots come out of the base in spring. The roots hold starch you can pound and rinse into flour, and the brown head bursts into the finest tinder in the woods, which loops right back to number 4. Now here's the discipline, and it is the difference between a teaching channel and a pretender. Blue flag iris grows in the same water at the same time, and its young leaves look enough like cattail leaves to fool a beginner. Iris is toxic. The tail is the base of the plant. Cattail leaves are rounded and spongy where they meet the root, and they come up in a round bunch. Iris leaves are flat all the way down and grow out of a flat fan, like a hand of cards. If you can't check the base, you don't have cattail. Acorns are the other one. All of them carry tannin, bitter enough to make you sick. And the peoples of Central California, the Miwok and the Pomo among them, pounded acorn into meal and leached it in sand basins with water run through it again and again until it went sweet. Southeastern peoples traveled on parched corn, from Selu, the Cherokee word for corn, dried and toasted, so it kept for weeks in a pouch. And any food you dry or keep You do it by current tested guidelines. The old ways worked. We also know more now, and there's no shame in using both. Number 9. The 2 plants for a rough day. Willow grows along creek banks all over this country. Long, narrow leaves, bark that peels and strips off the young growth. The old accounts across many nations describe chewing that inner bark for aches and pains, and the historical record shows what came of it. Chemists pulled a compound called salicin out of willow bark. A German company sold a modified version of it starting in 1899 under the name aspirin, and it went on to become one of the most widely used medicines in the world. That's the honest version of buried knowledge on this channel. Nobody hid it. The old remedy was so right that an industry got built on top of it, and the plant it came from still grows free by the creek. The second one is yarrow, fern-like feathery leaves, and a flat white cluster of flowers, which the accounts describe packed onto a cut or scrape out in the field. And now the warning that has to come with it, because it is the reason to name plants twice. Poison hemlock and water hemlock grow in the same wet ground. They carry white flower clusters too, and water hemlock is the most violently toxic plant in North America. Feathery leaf and white flower is not enough. Crush a yarrow leaf and it smells sharp and sweet and unmistakable, and if you can't get that smell, you walk away. Get yourself a regional field guide, learn the plants where you actually live, and if you're on medications, have a word with your doctor before you add anything new. That's history, I'm telling you, not a prescription. And every one of the 9 so far leans on one thing nobody ever says out loud, which is that you have light to work in. Number 10, read the sky and quit while you've still got light. The old accounts describe weather read off the whole country at once. Wind that has been steady all day and starts shifting around and backing. High, thin cloud that thickens and lowers through the afternoon until the sun goes pale. Campfire smoke that stops climbing and lies down flat along the ground. Deer and squirrels feeding hard and early instead of at dusk. Any one of those is nothing. 3 of them together is weather coming, and the old ones moved on it early, and that is the whole of number 10. When the sky says trouble, or when you've got 2 hours of light left, you stop traveling and you make camp. Not because the walking is hard in the dark, but because everything else on this list needs your eyes. And that's the thing I've been circling since number 1. The 10 of them are one order, and the order's the teaching. Cord before fire, because the drill needs a string. Fuel before spark, because a spark on nothing is nothing. Water rid before you're thirsty. Sign read before you pick the spot. Bed built before dark. Fire built before the cold. 10,000 years of people on this land. And the accounts show them getting ahead of the weather instead of out-toughing it, in sequence every single time, and stopping early enough in the day that the sequence had room to happen. That's the Native American way underneath all 10 of these. Use what the land hands you, waste none of it, and know why a thing works long before the night you need it to work. And that's why number 10 is number 10. It's the one that buys the other 9 the daylight they need. And that's one page out of the Native American way of the woods, written down plain and in that same order, from the walking quiet to the reading of a print, to making fire off a string you twisted yourself. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera and point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, The link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you will enjoy the video right now on screen even more. I can assure you on that. Click it right now, my friend.